So, is the recession over? Stocks jumped Tuesday, recovering some losses from the previous 3 trading days as investors took a pause from recession fears and Japanese equities rallied. So, in a way, right now, SPY from what was, I'm sorry, let me see. If you take a look at SPY, right? Really? Okay, I'm just gonna show you on this. I'm just gonna show you on Webull. Where's SPY? Okay, if you take a look at the S&P 500, right? Compared to where it was on what was it? On Monday, right? If you take a look at the S&P 500 on Monday, August 5th, 2024, its lowest at the S&P 500 was at 510 with 27 cents. Now, right now, SPY is at 522 with 15 cents. So in a way, I feel like the stock market had a correction. If you take a look at the overall chart, SPY was all the way at 555 and 565, right? So in a way, I did feel like the overall market was due for a correction. Now, do I think, the stock market could crash in the next couple of months? No one really knows that answer, right?
Guess what, bro?
But obviously, the way I plan to approach the market, if the stock market or the crypto market decides to keep crashing, right, or decides to crash later on, right, my strategy would be dollar cost averaging. So what is dollar cost averaging, right? It's an approach to purchasing an investment in which the buyer spreads out their purchases so that the total prices paid is less affected by market timing. And I have like I think, what is it? I have 6 stocks that I'm watching very closely. And I have 6 stocks that I'm keeping an eye on. And those 6 are Microsoft, Visa, Salesforce, Chevron, Merck, and AMD. Starting off with AMD, right? If you look on the daily chart, right? You can see that AMD is just way oversold. I remember at a certain point when it was like hovering around this area, around the 200-day moving average. There was articles like there was articles saying that, AMD has a price target of $200. And I was just like, I feel like that is possible, but I feel like, not really. But then again, I was like, in the long term, yes, I think it is possible, with the whole AI craze, right? And so when that happened, you can see like just AMD just dumped. And probably the worst day they had was when, the stock market crash happened on Monday, right? But obviously, let's say if I were to get, I don't know, if you look at it on the weekly chart, right? It's kind of close to getting to the 180-day moving average. And I personally feel like if the stock market were to crash down a little further, I'd personally get into AMD once it touches the 180-day moving average. But I kind of also feel like where AMD is at right now is a personal good entry point. Obviously, this is more of a long-term investment in a way. And then if you look at on the monthly chart, right, you can see that it's trying its best to not break the 20-day moving average. And so I do feel like possibly AMD could bounce to the upside in the next couple of days. Next stock, The next stock is Merck. So Merck right now, right? I personally feel like it's way oversold. I think they reported earnings and they did good, but I just don't know what happened really. I could be wrong. I don't remember at all really, but right now I feel like this support level that Merck is at the 111 or 110 level is a personal good entry point to get into Merck. If you look at Merck on the weekly, it broke the 9, 20, and 50-day moving average. But if you look at it at Merck on the monthly chart, right, you can see that it's trying its best to not break the 20-day moving average. So I feel like Merck, where it's at right now, I personally feel like it's a personal good entry point to get into Merck where it's at right now. But we will see what happens with Merck. The next stock is Chevron. Chevron, again, another stock that I personally feel is like way oversold. If you look at it on the weekly chart, if Chevron does decide to crash down a little further, I'd be on the lookout for the 137 or 139 level as personal entry points to get into Chevron. But I personally feel like if I were to dollar cost average into Chevron, right, I personally feel like where it's at right now is a personal good entry point. And if you look at it on the monthly chart, I personally feel like where it's at right now, the 142 or 143 level is kind of a good entry point. I personally feel like that's a personal good entry point to get into Chevron. But we will see what happens with Chevron, of course. Next stock is Salesforce. Salesforce, I personally feel like where Salesforce is at right now, I personally feel like it's a personal good entry point. It's kind of hovering around this level of 239 or 240 right now. And I feel like it's trying its best. I think it's trying its best to not. I feel like it's trying its best to not break that level, right? Now, if you look at it on the weekly, right, possibly, maybe, if the market decides to do bad in the next couple of days, right, my next personal entry point would be around the 229 or 230 level as my next price target as to get into Salesforce. And if you look at it on the monthly chart, you can see that it touched the 20-day moving average. This sort of bounced off of it, and I personally feel like Salesforce is a good entry point. I personally feel like where Salesforce is at right now at the 238 level is a personal good entry point to get into Salesforce. As long as it doesn't break on the monthly, right, the 20-day moving average, I personally feel like Salesforce is a good deal right now. But if the market decides to crash down further, then I'd be on the lookout to see if Salesforce could get to the 227 level or all the way to the 211 level. Visa, I think this is the last stock I'm talking about. Is it? No, Microsoft. Okay. Visa, I personally feel like Visa, where it's at right now, is a personal good entry point. It's kind of hovering around this level of support, sort of 258. It looks like it got rejected by that support level. Visa decided to break that level, 258, but it kind of failed. And right now, after hours, it's at 257. So possibly, maybe Visa could see a little bit more downside, possibly all the way to 254 or even 252. But if Visa decides to crash down a little further to the downside, right, I'd be on the lookout to get into Visa around the 254 level or the 252 level. And on the weekly or in the monthly, it looks like on the monthly, it wants to approach the 20-day moving average. Could that happen? Obviously, I mean, it's the stock market. But we will see what happens with Visa. The next stock that I personally feel like is way oversold as well is Microsoft. Microsoft right now, on the weekly chart, you can see that, Microsoft was about to break the 50-day moving average on the weekly chart, but you can see that, it landed on the 50-day moving average and it bounced off of it. Now, right now, you can see on the daily chart, right? Today's candle tried breaking the 200-day moving average, but it got rejected. And right now, you can see that ever since, I guess here on July 23rd, Microsoft's just been getting rejected by the 9-day moving average. And I personally feel like if Microsoft decides to stay under the 20-day moving average, right? I personally feel like it's a personal good entry point to get into Microsoft for the long term. If Microsoft decides to touch the 50-day moving average on the weekly chart, then I personally think that's another personal good entry point to get into Microsoft. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Those are the 6 stocks that I personally feel like are on sale, or I personally feel like are oversold, right? Tell me what you think. I mean, obviously, you can always use this website called finviz.com. Like I said, you can use finviz.com, click on screener, click on market cap, click on mega, right? And then click on performance, and then click on performance year to date. And it's going to show you the stocks from worst to best. And then you can do your own, watch list and, do your own analysis. And other than that, that's pretty much it. Hopefully you guys did good trading or investing. But yeah, as always, I'll see you in the next video. And if you want to sign up with Webull, you can sign up with my Webull link in the description below or on Webull's website. Other than that, that's pretty much it. As always, take care and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.